So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success story series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders, their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Alex Deighton, who's CEO at SimplyAI. So, Alex, firstly, thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, SimplyAI, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chris, for inviting me on. CEO of Simply AI, and we are a UK-based business that helps UK SMBs with AI services. Primarily, we start with voice AI because we feel that's the low-hanging fruit, but we offer full AI services right through to simple and complex agents using companies' own data.
Brilliant, brilliant. And for those of you that are watching, I came to see you the other week, and what you're doing is incredible. So, as part of this meeting and this podcast, we're going to do some demonstration later on. I'm so engaged with it. But what would make a great client? So, somebody watching this, well, I'm not, what sort of businesses, what sort of requirement do you think you have to be a great client of yours?
Yeah, I think the question is probably a little bit wider than that for me, Chris, in that AI is everywhere now, right?
Yeah.
In your inbox, with people positioning services, it's on the news, it's in the adverts. And someone described that to me the other day as air cover, right? You've got massive brands, someone like Matthew McConaughey representing Salesforce, Idris Elba, yeah, ServiceNow, and big businesses in the world is waking up to AI. Yeah, one of the questions I ask of any client now is, do they have an AI strategy document? And if the answer to that question is no, then ultimately we can help, right?
Right.
And the quick win for today is your AI for your business is only going to be as good as the data you put in.
Yes.
Yeah, so ultimately we come to be a data management company and help UK businesses understand how they can leverage their own data, hook it up to AI, and then make it useful. Yeah, so hence one of the go-to services we offer is the voice AI on the latest speech-to-speech models. And ultimately, that means the AI can speak like you and I can do now. And the quick win is we take a company website, we take some forward-facing information, maybe sales PDFs, but think of it as any information that you would want as a business owner, your customers to find out and see, and likewise your staff would have access to. We wrap all that information and we can create a business's first agent. And
Yeah.
I talk about this as incremental gain. So that agent being able to speak to your customers on a 24/7 basis is going to do a better job than most people's answer machine. Yeah, and we can also put that agent onto your website, and again, we can engage in conversation, and then down the line, we hook up that to the back end systems that are probably prevalent in that business. Yeah, something like Google Meet or Microsoft 365 and other databases. So if you look, I talk about AI, the route to leveraging it and the incremental gain. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so there's not a massive jump, but it should help any single businesses out there looking to leverage AI services to deliver incremental gain in their business.
Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And as you say, it's everywhere. And as much as I would suggest, as much as business owners, business leaders want to get involved with it, it seems like it's such a big topic that, or where do you start? And I guess you start by picking up the phone and talking to you, or one of your agents, I guess, to start with, hopefully. But that
Yeah,
would be a
so
good start.
so a funny point of interest for you, Chris. We have an agent on our site, yeah, called Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah, now Lisa is my wife's name, and having given her the naming rights for the agent on the website, she then said, "Well, why don't I on the payroll, right? If I'm representing your business." But look, exactly that. I mean, this is the beauty. Lisa is 24/7 on the website. She knows all the information about our business and what voice AI services are. And we've built a knowledge base behind Lisa for different persona types. They could be CEOs, they could be CFOs, they could be CTOs. But we've galvanized Lisa's brain with all that information in the knowledge base we put behind her.
Brilliant.
So, and I think she speaks 15 languages. Yeah. So, yeah, that gives
Fabulous.
you an idea. 24/7, 15 languages with a load of powerful information that sits behind her that she remembers all the time. Doesn't get sick, doesn't take holidays, just there 24/7.
Fabulous. Fabulous. There is somebody I definitely need to introduce you to. I've just realised who's about 3 miles from where you are. So we'll get that sorted later on. Brilliant. So, Alex, would we be okay to start with just talking a little bit about your background, how you got into business, and why this particular one for you?
Yeah, but go for it, Chris.
Well, where did it all start? I mean, not just AI, but where was your starting business? What was what was your background before this, and how did this come along, and how did you get engaged with it?
Yeah. Look, I mean, a very quick history. Then I wanted to be a professional race driver when I was young. Yeah, didn't got halfway up the ladder and then ran out of money. Then channeled my ambition into business. One of my sponsors was involved in telecoms, so I got into the telecoms industry. And for those who are of the same age as me, back when least cost routing, you could choose which was your provider for your telephone calls. That led to successful telecoms businesses, of which I've had two. I sold one last year. But this particular journey for me started in 2018 when I went across to America, Google headquarters, seminar, and it was all about video conferencing in the browser and AI. Yeah, so I bought a video conferencing before COVID. Yeah, ultimately that was the right move, but when COVID landed, the video marketplace moved so fast it disappeared in a week. Yeah, with the likes of Zoom and Microsoft Teams.
Yes.
Of course, we are using Zoom today. So we pivoted the video infrastructure we had to be a remote expert tool. Yeah, with what they call an XR device, and these were head-mounted, video-operated, hands-free devices. And then when AI came along, we started to put the AI into the headsets as well. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, that's great, but people still had to adopt the technology or buy the headset. But I'm thinking if we've got AI and we can put it on people's phone lines and websites, it opens up every business really in the UK. And it's now a question of when people adopt the technology rather than if that we had with the XR devices. I still think they're going to be very powerful in the years to come, right? Where you can have a smart pair of glasses on and you can ask a question of those glasses. You've got both hands free to do your tasks, whatever it is. But you have to go through the tech adoption barrier. And the form factor of the glasses is getting better, but they can be a bit heavy and a bit clunky.
Yeah.
So we then leveraged all my knowledge from telecoms industry, brought AI into what we're doing, and then focused it to UK SMB exactly that we can provide AI services that will work on phone lines and websites as the incremental gain that I spoke about before. So as a new business, Simply AI, it's like having a new child. Yeah, it's almost like the business I sold last year has graduated, it's been to university, it's now married and got two kids. Yeah, for my sins, I've got a new child that takes a bit of looking after, but of course, it's incredibly challenging and rewarding at the same time.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So, throughout your business career, and obviously with this one too, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome over that period?
I think yourself in business, you've just got to have confidence in yourself and probably unwavering belief.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's whatever you do, for me, it's hard yards, right? And the older I've got, people don't realize just how much effort goes in just to being in business, let alone then getting across the gain line.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just that resolute confidence that you can get across that gain line. And you know, I say to my sons, ABS, always be selling. Yeah, somewhere down the line, you've got to capture people's attention and engagement and try and showcase what you do. Yeah, and it's easier if you've got a product. Like I say, the XR device is really sexy, captivated people's attention, but to get across the gain line to get them to buy,
Yeah.
yeah, we were everyone's best friend in the middle of COVID, remote expert. Yeah, when the world went back to normal, we just had to make a pivot, to become a full AI service agency.
Yeah. Absolutely. And obviously you've touched on some of those, but are there any key secrets? You said always be selling, which I completely agree. Always be telling people what we do and how we do it. What are the key secrets would you have for successfully growing and I guess exiting your business?
Um, I think, what's always served me very well is being fair. Yeah, and a
Yeah.
conversation and a good deed, be it in life or business, I think comes back round. Yeah, and therefore you might not be able to close that particular deal then and there. And if it's not right, don't try and push it. Yeah, but the person who's would understand that may come back to you in years' time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time. Yeah, so anyone that you for me, speak to, engage with, represent yourself and your business to the best of your ability. Don't try and sell something where it's not wanted or force it in. And that good faith will generally come back on the basis of trust down the line. Yeah. Obviously, the trick is you've got to be in business long enough to have that come back round.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that's the other side of that coin.
Yeah, great. What a great point. Yeah, no, 100%. And I've always believed, and I work with quite a few people and talk about, don't ever devalue the effort you've put in, even if it doesn't, there isn't a direct relationship between, an hour spent now is going to give me £1,000 back or whatever. It's more like you have to put 100 in to start getting £10,000 back or whatever it would be. But it has value. So if we keep working, we keep trying these things, things will come eventually. But as you say, we have to stay in business long enough to enjoy that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly that.
Brilliant. And I think you're aware we're a business coaching organisation. I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest influence on you?
I think I wouldn't particularly cite one individual. I would just say it's life's experience. What was
Yeah,
very helpful at one stage in the telecoms business of 14 years, we got to a certain size, we'd got across the gain line, and then we facilitated ourselves with a board. Yeah, and the chairman of that board was a very experienced business person. And the lesson for me there really, there's always someone further up the tree with more experience, and that's the bit. Never be afraid to go out and ask, right? Because you don't know what you don't know, right? And if you
yes,
can surround yourself with people with more experience, you still have to get out on the pitch and deliver. But it's a bit like having a really good manager, yeah, chairman in a business. We put a chairman and an FD together, yeah, and really that gave us a really good sounding board because it held us to account,
yeah,
yeah. So look, it's always good to follow successful people within either sport or your industry, but experience counts, right? And getting
yeah.
access to that experience to help you shape your ideas or understanding where you're going wrong because you might not see it. Yeah, because you can be too close to it. Yeah, I now start with a five, so I'm starting to have some of those scars that gives you the experience that I can help my staff with, and other people that are starting out in business.
Yeah, I suppose thinking about your career so far and what you've achieved. How much are you able to pass that skill and experience on yourself to others?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's like I say, starting a new business for me is like having a new child, right? And it needs constant care and attention. The experience of having done it once, then you're not surprised, yeah, with what it can throw at you, and just probably the resoluteness and the experience just helps, right? And therefore, anyone starting a business, someone once said to me, right, it's not why they're going to buy, it's why they're not going to buy, right? You have to
Yes.
understand all those factors, yeah, before you can understand if you're going to make a sale, right? And that's very much what I would say in business is that you've got to think, most people think of a straight line, yeah, but think of however it might fall off that straight line and how you can accommodate that, right? Because then, you don't get surprised and you maybe have some form of contingency plan or thought process.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. We did some training a while ago with Sir Clive Woodward, it was a few years back, but we had Sir Clive Woodward, the England rugby coach that won the Rugby World Cup. And he's got a principle called Teacup, which is think correctly under pressure. And he described it as in the rugby scenario was he'd say to his team, let's not wait till you get on the pitch to work out what we would do if, let's say, the scrum half got sent off. Scrum half just got sent off. It's 7 minutes to go. What do you do? If you haven't thought about it, who knows? It would be made. So let's not make it up as we go along. And he'd say, that's the challenge for today. I'm gonna leave you to decide as the team what you're gonna do. And as long as I don't think it's totally stupid, we'll go with that. But that becomes the strategy in that situation, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
that, as you said, that's only experience. That's only experience. We knew that challenge has happened before, so we'll look at doing something about it. But planning based on experience, I think, is so key.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And look, if you're just missing one link in the chain, yeah, we're working on a particular deal at the moment. I need to redo my cyber insurance. Yeah, but that is a showstopper, right? And of course, that came out in the woodwork. But to get on that and get it in a time frame so we can still sign the contracts, you think everything's going swimmingly well, and then of course there's a bit of fine print, and then of course now we're off, and it's over Easter, and everything slows down, and yeah, and of course until that contract's signed, then there's a roll-on effect of hiring staff and so on and so forth. So, yeah, really understanding the constituent parts and what can catch you out, planning for that, and trying to run in front of it is key to the deliverables of the success. And I mentioned that earlier, just that infrastructure to be in business. Yeah. Really key, and for people coming into businesses, it's probably an area that they would underestimate. And for me, the admin tasks with everything being online and two-factor authentication, everything can just slow you down, right? So try and run in front of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember our founder saying some time ago that he said the value of a plan is in the planning. And what he meant by that was exactly what you said, is that, yeah, the plan is the straight line we hope it goes, but the planning bit is what if it doesn't? What if that happens? What if that happens? What if that happens? So we've got a chance of covering it if it goes a bit, because something will probably go wrong. I think it's the rule. There's some law or something, isn't there? There's always something goes. And is it Murphy's law? But yeah, no, I get that. So
I would tend to think if you have two positive actions in a day, that's a win, right? Because
cool.
out of 10, you're probably going to get eight that are not going to go in your direction. So you've got to roll with those punches, but look for the two that drive you forward, right? So yeah, back to the idea of being resolute. Yeah,
Yeah.
because not everything's good news when your phone rings.
Unfortunately not. There is a downside, I think. But then, if it was easy, everyone would do it, and that's the challenge, isn't it? That's why only 4% of the population own businesses, because it's not quite as easy as it might appear. Um, I love to collect quotes and sayings that people use in business or life. Do you have any favourite quotes or sayings in and about business or success that you catch yourself using on a regular basis?
What's always served me well, because I've been involved in technology, is understanding how I can turn that technology into an analogy, yeah, that someone's going to understand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. Right here and now, we use a process called semantic chunking. Yeah,
Great.
so if I'm going to take a PDF of the UK regulatory building industry, which is 200 pages long, and we want to ingest that into one of our AI knowledge bases, the process is called semantic chunking. Yeah, but what I then say to people is ultimately imagine me taking the 200 pages and putting it through a shredder. Yeah, and obviously the dissemination of that document through a shredder people get. And then I'm saying we tend to take all the bits and then we put it into the knowledge base and the AI can make sense of it.
Yep.
But from semantic chunking to putting it through a shredder, yeah, people understand the shredder, right? And the
Right.
analogy that goes with it.
With it.
So breaking stuff down so from your industry that you're going to know very well to put it in real world terms, then I
Right.
think that's the win. That's how I try to deliver to my staff and to end user customers, make it easy to understand. Um, Again, something with AI, there's all these what they call foundation models. Yeah, people know ChatGPT, you've got Google Gemini, and Anthropic Claude, all these different models. Once you've built your knowledge base, right, you can put any of those models into the back of it with our infrastructure. But again,
Right.
I always say if you built your engine, your knowledge base, you can go down to BP or Shell or Asda to get your fuel. Yeah, be it either price point or location. Yeah, so again, putting stuff into analogies, I think works really well.
Brilliant.
When you start playing technology products.
Makes absolute perfect sense. Yeah, and absolutely, it helps people because, yeah, talking about semantic junking, that would be quite. Yeah, funnily enough, and I do remember, and I think it's also important that we ask questions if we don't understand. I remember we did a lot of software work in the power industry, and I remember as a very young lad, I was on secondment to Drax Power Station, obviously down the road for both of us, and that I got called into at the time the way the power station was run, the station manager. I don't think what it was called, but basically it was God. It was like, you bowed as he walked past you, the top man at the power station, and there was a meeting, and I was doing the IT work at the business at the power station, and I got called into a meeting. I wasn't expecting to get called into, but it was all the senior guys. So there was God, and then God's mates, and then me. And I'm sitting there, and one of them's one of them, the engineering manager was saying, "Oh, we have to sort out the XPU or whatever it would be," and everyone keeps saying, "Oh, yeah, XPU, got to sort it." I remember overcoming my embarrassment of having to ask the question and say, "Look, you've called me because you might want my help, but I don't know what an XPU is." And luckily, God turned around and said, "Well, I'm so glad you asked that question because I don't know what it is either," and it sort of saved my blushes in effect. But it is sometimes it's so easy to talk in acronyms, in complex words, and not get our message across.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I always think teaching my sales staff, right? Before we've walked through that door, having that phone call or interaction, video call, whatever it might be, there's probably 10 things going on in that business that are ultimately more important.
Yeah,
Yeah, and therefore getting that
brilliant.
airtime and getting a clear message across, and also aligning the narrative and delivery to the person that sat opposite you.
Yeah,
I always like the James Bond quote where in Casino Royale and Daniel Craig's playing the big baddie. And I think he's talking about poker and saying, look, I just play the person opposite me rather than the cards. But
brilliant.
I take that as when I'm communicating, if it's CEO, my positioning might be slightly different than someone who's very technical. If
Yeah,
someone's very technical, then I'll doff my cap and say, look, I get to a certain level here, right? But then, yeah, I'd have to refer you into my team. But just aligning your narrative to who you're speaking to, you can't use the same communication for different personalities and different skill sets in front of you. So in my mind, again, what served me very well is just tailoring, yeah, the analogy and the communication relative to who's sat in front of me and what their requirements and maybe what their skill set is.
perfect. Yeah, makes perfect sense. And do you have any favorite books or podcasts or anything that you recommend that's been helpful to you in business in general?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in terms of out and out favourites, no. I enjoy a holiday, and of course, I go through the airport and then try and pick up three or four books, right? And the missus always goes, "Well, you never read them, right?" And of course, it's
Yeah.
it's time and effort versus fun factor on holiday. But I try and give myself a mixture of what I would say is industry topics. I read a really good book recently by the head of I think it's now Microsoft's head of AI, yeah, called The Coming Wave, all about AI, right? And he
Right.
started in this business called DeepMind, which ultimately Google bought. But just to understand the history of AI was really powerful. But I might
Yeah,
temper that with like a John Grisham novel, right, which is then pure escapism. Yeah,
brilliant.
so I tend to try and read and mix up, but the ingestation of your industry and general knowledge, yeah, is something I wish I could do more of. Yeah,
Yeah,
so to my detriment, I'm on about five or six different AI newsletters, right, and trying to galvanize that
yeah,
information. But I find it really useful, right, because if I can just pick up a snippet that helps me educate, and I say that's a really big thing, right? Self-education. I know quite a lot about AI now and how to build it. And that's ultimately because I've gone self-taught. Yeah, I haven't been on a particular course, anything like that. I'm just reading and picking up
brilliant.
information and a bit like, trying to get past the acronyms and understand how it all fits together. Yeah. And that's the beauty now, isn't it? If I can do that and bring the technologies together, build the right team that can build it, then I can articulate that to the UK SMB owner, right, which is ultimately our market. Enterprise are too clever. They probably have those people and they probably know better or think they know better themselves. But to get a practical A to B for an SMB business owner, yeah, with what I've spoken about in terms of articulating technology, putting in analogies and giving him a roadmap that makes sense logically.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just a translation game.
brilliant.
But yeah, for me, it's searching out information in your sphere and then being able to articulate it back. And I do that just by reading. Yeah, but I do need some downtime. Yeah, like with a
Yes.
John Grisham novel or something like.
Definitely. I think it's the brain needs that, doesn't it? So getting that opportunity is really, really key. And what would you say you've learned about yourself throughout your journey so far, Alex?
Yeah, it's just resolute, really, for me. Give me 1 second. Yeah, just I've got some Yorkshire backbone. Yeah, we're here in Yorkshire. This
Brilliant.
this latest journey has been one of up and down. I raised money at significant value. Then I had the unfortunate circumstances of two of the people I trusted and pointed to back, gave equity to, trying to sell the business behind my back, through naivety and greed. And I did a phase, what I call now the Jeffrey boycott phase, right, which was with the business just to stay at the crease. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I knew I had the
Great.
confidence, right, through everything I'd spoken about before.
Yep.
If I could stay at the crease, then I would get across the gain line. Yeah, which
Brilliant.
I'm pleased to say now have. And that really manifests itself with taking opportunity and delivering opportunity to the business, and that manifests itself by us winning a £1 million UK Innovate funding opportunity, where I put the team together, we executed a plan, and we won. And that was across the team of four of us in UK construction. We were doing the AI part, and that's where all the learning came from. And that was the catalyst for, again, the growth of the business.
Yep.
But yeah, so resolute, Yorkshire backbone, staying at the crease, and waiting for the moment to then go out and score the fours and the
Love it.
sixes again.
I love the analogy. I mean, thank you. You are a master of analogy because it's really helpful. That is that stay in the crease, and I guess it's thinking about a cricket analogy. It's playing yourself in, isn't it? It's as well. It's like the fours come later if one, but you have to defend a whole bunch of singles and difficult balls, and just as you say, stay there. It's so important for any business because if you get it, ultimately, if we've got the right product or service, we've got the right passion, got the right energy, we will get there.
Yeah, and it's exactly that. And you've just got to afford yourself the time, right? And time equals cash. Yeah, so you've got to really make sure that that cash
Yeah.
runway is there for you, or you control your cost relative to the cash that's there.
Yeah.
And it's the Jeffrey Boycott or the cricket analogy. Most people probably remember Ben Stokes knocking out the park, but he just at Headingley, he just
Very
played
much
such
so.
a great inning, and when he needed to, he just went for it, right? And if every business owner could do that to get the timing right and then go for it. But again, a very measured innings before we went for it and then got across the game line.
Brilliant. I remember that very well. Unfortunately, I was there the Thursday, Friday, not the Saturday, Sunday. So all I
Yeah,
saw was
no,
Australia hammering us, but that's nice.
yeah. Well, I do too because I was watching it. I got told to go and pick the kids up from Leeds Fest. Yeah, and he was in the middle of this inning, so I ended up watching on Sky Go. Where I stopped, I got nicked. Yeah, police car pulled up behind me, said you can't. I'm watching the cricket but anyway. So
Love
hence it
it.
sticks right in your memory.
Love it. We've got Adam joining us in a second, but I'm going to ask you one last question before he joins us. So what does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you'll face, if any?
Um, Look, it's a process of education, right? And I guess for me, it's the balancing of. I think every business is going to need some form of AI within it in the near future, right? And I referenced that book before, The Coming Wave. If anyone is watching this, just order it on Amazon because it'll just make your eyes open relative to, and it's quite a good read, and it references history. But if this is the technology sweep, then we've put ourselves in a very fortunate position. But I've still got to deliver the right team, keep them motivated, keep the eyes on the prize of moving the business forward. So that's like any other business, right? If we've gone through the Jeffrey boycott phase and we're now being able to put our foot back on the gas, I've still got to manage the team versus cost versus income and that level of communication. So um, yeah, call it dry land. I think they're nearly on dry land with the business, but every stage of any business, you've got those challenges of growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, if I'm aligning a business and its life to children, right? Mine now is probably just starting secondary school. I've got all the problems of it growing up and like looking for phones and not doing homework and wanting to go out. We're some way off the university stage where it can go and act by itself. Yeah,
Yep.
and even then, it still needs a strong hand. But look, I'm fundamentally very pleased with what we've done. People watching this, hopefully they get an understanding of my character. If they want to come and discuss some form of AI or have a general chat about it, and we're here in Leeds, or like I say, you can speak to Lisa, who could represent the business. Yeah, you'll get a tone above if we speak personally.
Love it. Absolutely brilliant. Well, look. It'd be good to swing by again in another 6 to 12 months and just see the next phase. But Adam's going to join us, and we're going to talk a little bit about seeing what you do in more detail. So let me bring him in, and we'll go from there. I'm going to hand over to you guys, if I may. It's probably the best thing, isn't it?
This is
Hello,
like
Adam.
one we've prepared earlier, Chris.
Absolutely
Hi,
perfect.
Adam. I think we're in the middle of Chris and mine's podcast, and he's quizzed me on my business background. I've spoken a touch about where we are with Simply AI now, and what I really wanted, Chris, and I guess the viewership of people reading this is that I'm talking about building a knowledge base, and then we have a variety of AI endpoints, and we focused on voice AI as some low-hanging fruit about how we can take forward-facing information from a website or some sales literature and PDF, anything that a business owner would be happy his customer seeing or his staff seeing, and building an agent. Yeah, and I mentioned speech to speech. That's getting on for a technical term, but ultimately it can communicate like we are on this video call. So Adam's just joining us now, and Adam, if you bring us up an agent, and maybe we have a chat with Lisa about Simply AI for a couple of minutes, so you can just demonstrate that for us, that'd be really powerful. And
You're
you might just
mute.
be on.
Yeah, you're muted. Sorry.
Absolutely. Just getting up now.
Brilliant.
And if you want to, Adam, say just what a good boss I am, right, as motivational, then you can add that in as well.
Oh, I would have done that even if you hadn't asked, Alex. Absolutely.
Go for it.
Fabulous.
Uh, so
Do you need anything from me? Do you need to be able to share?
I
I'll
do need to be able to share, please.
let me do that. I think I just need to. You should be okay.
Yeah, yeah, I've got that. Thank you. Share sound. Yeah, I'll need that.
Technology demonstrations. They still drive the fear of God into me. But
Yeah,
good luck. Brilliant.
excellent. So can you see that?
Yes.
Fantastic. So this is exactly what sort of Alex was talking about, not just voice AI, but conversational AI. What we're going to see here is just a fluid conversation between me and the AI. And
Yeah.
one of the huge differences that you're going to see is that it's not the case of that it's taking what I've said, turning it into text, and then turning it back, processing it, and then turning it back into speech again to talk back to me, vice versa. That's a very long-winded process. But I'm just going to hit start call now.
Hello, thanks for calling Simply AI. How can I help you today?
Hi, who are you?
I'm Lisa. Nice to chat with you. I'm here to help with any questions you've got about Simply AI. What's your name, by the way?
I'm Adam. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Adam. What brings you to Simply AI today then? Are you looking to learn more about our AI platform?
Yeah, I just wanted to learn a bit more about conversational AI, please.
Conversational AI is what we're all about. We make it easy to build your own conversational agents like me. What kind of thing are you looking to use it for, Adam? Got a particular project in mind?
Uh, I don't have a particular project in mind. Do you want to give me some examples?
We've had people use our platform for all sorts of things, like customer service, language translation, and even just for a bit of fun. We can provide a video demo of an agent in action if you'd like. Would you like to see that, Adam?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I can sort that out for you. We've got a few different examples, but I can share one that shows how our agents can have a right old chat with people. I'll make a note to get that sent over to you. By the way, are you with a company, Adam, or just having a look around?
So I'll stop that there. But as you can see, so this specific agent, we've told it to be quite personable, use a British sort of language, and just be friendly, but also to slowly find out more about the individual whilst letting them lead the conversation. So you can actually get quite a bit of nuance in the AI agents that you end up creating.
Brilliant.
That's great, Adam. And for me, just probably, I'd like to have the viewership understand that how we build a knowledge base behind the agent.
Yes.
So whilst you're screen sharing, and I don't know if it's going to take a minute or two, but if we just show them the 3D environment that we took Chris around when he came to the office in the VR headset, but again, to understand how we build a knowledge base in 3D, we've got some showcase that we can share in.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. Let me.
This is
Chris,
so
any
cool.
questions whilst Adam's prepping that?
No, I mean, I think the thing that I realized when I visited you was that point, just to make it clear. It's voice to voice. It's listening to your voice, or in this case, Adam's voice, and responding in voice without the delay of processing it as text. Obviously, you don't. I guess the obvious thing to say, we don't need to see that screen. I would just be calling somebody, and it would be talking to me. That's the. I'm not communicating at the moment. I communicate through with Chat GPT as the example by typing things. This is just literally I talk, it answers, and that fabulous.
Yeah. And that's just one of the endpoints. The whole kind of purpose we have here is that conversational AI is a fantastic endpoint, but also if you needed to for the use case, you absolutely still can use text, or you could use any other medium. So you could have it on a pair of glasses or something like that you're talking to. It really doesn't matter the endpoint. We're not restricted in that method. The kind of point here is that you're still getting the exact same access to your information as you would with an older type of AI. In fact, you're getting a better access to it with these knowledge bases and RAG databases, and it's all instant no matter what the endpoint.
Cool. I think I've got that. The sound dropped a little bit on the volume for me, but I did. I think we caught it on the recording anyway.
That sound drop.
No, I'm really sorry. You're still quite quiet. Are you getting that as well, Alex, or is it just me?
Yeah, I got him as very quiet, actually, Chris.
I think I'll probably just have to speak louder then. Is that better?
Yeah, still very quiet, Adam, actually.
It was fine before. It literally just dropped down when you started talking after coming out of the example with Lisa. So I don't know if that's
I'm going to exit and rejoin. It might.
okay. Cool. Oh, this is wonderful. If we're going to look at the VX as well, I didn't realize we were going to be able to do that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, look, I thought we'd so a bit of an explainer then. So when we started the Innovate project that we had before, what I really wanted to do was, analogies are one thing, right? But I felt if we could deliver a digital twin of what we were building, yeah, the visual effect of learning, and this is part of the journey we've been on in this XR sector of the variety of different headsets. But if you take a virtual reality headset now, yeah, people would say, well, maybe for gamers, right? But there's a real business use coming because you can build a 3D environment, and that could be relative to production line, new equipment that you can train people on before it gets installed, and speed up that time to market or any downtime in any particular process. We use Microsoft's environment called Microsoft Mesh. Well, of course, if most businesses are using Microsoft, behind the Office 365 tenant is Microsoft's immersive environment Mesh. Yeah, so we went and then built an auditorium, a training room, and ultimately a digital twin of our AI infrastructure. Yeah, and if we do it properly, as I did with you, Chris, it takes about 45 minutes to go on the tour. Yeah, but we can really outline and visualize the constituent parts of what an AI knowledge base would be and understand the endpoints and how the agents work internally to it. Adam's back with us, so give us a 1, 2, 3, Adam, see if we've got some volume.
Any better?
No.
I'm afraid not.
Let me just change to a different mic.
It's so quiet, and we won't. I think people watching won't.
Is that better?
Yeah,
That's better.
Okay, I'm using my webcam microphone now. I don't know what's happened to this one.
Cool.
Fantastic. I'll start sharing my screen. Alex, on this one, this is the one we did in partnership with GMI, if that's okay with you?
Yeah, perfect.
Fantastic.
I spoke a little bit about the Innovate grant, but yeah, it was GMI Construction in Yorkshire that we did the Innovate project with.
I don't suppose you've got one of the headset. It'd be good just to, because what you're going to show us is what you see when you get into the environment. Is that right?
You will see it. You'll see the 3D nature of it, but obviously it's just on a 2D screen rather than moving around. We should get the effect.
But this is just would say just, but using a set of goggles and a couple of control sticks.
Yeah, I guess the difference with it is, Chris, the Microsoft Mesh is available where you can view it via PC. Yeah, so you'll get the nature of the 3D environment because we're going to go walk around it. Obviously, if we put on the headset, then you get the depth, you get the scale because you're in that virtual world, which is 3D. So
Brilliant.
you're going to see the 3D environment through a 2D lens. Yeah, but it's easy for the point of your podcast today.
Fabulous.
Go for it, Adam.
That makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. When using one of these, it's obviously improved. It's better when you're in there with other people as well. You can see everyone else. You're at head height. You can walk around. You're more immersed, as it were, so you can have those better meetings. But the good thing is that you don't need to have the headset on because it's also accessible on PC.
Brilliant.
So you can see my avatar walking around. If there were other people around there, you'd see them walking around as well. Some of them in VR, some of them could be on PC. And Alex, do you want to give a brief voiceover of why we've done each part?
Yeah, fine. So Adam's going to take us through. You can see we can emboss an emblem, on the landing spot where you jump into the world. We're providing a training room here as a start for 10. We've got some construction, buildings and objects. On the far pillar, we've got some headsets, and there's a pair of smart glasses and some VR headsets. And when you're in the environment, you can play with the, the elements that we put in there, and you can make them bigger and smaller and wear them. Probably take us through into the auditorium very quickly, Adam, so people can gain understanding. So when we, in our business, Chris, when we do an all hands call, bearing in mind I've 14 staff and we're all over the country, this is a really good environment to bring them into.
Brilliant.
And we can
Brilliant.
put a whole load of slides in there. We can all join in these environments. You've got something that's really cool spatial audio, which means if people want to take themselves to the side and have their own conversation, they can do. You don't end up in the normal video call where only one person can speak at any one point. So there's lots of benefits. And what I would say, anyone who might look at immersive technologies, the pain barrier you have to go through is you have to wear the VR headset, right?
Yeah.
But wearing that VR headset, once you become comfortable with it, it's a pain barrier worth going through
yeah.
because the rewards are a maximum. And you had your first VR experience, didn't you, when you came to our offices?
That's great.
I loved it.
Yeah,
If you
100%.
ping,
Sorry, cool.
I was going to say, ping the brain for us, Adam, and then we'll take people around the showcase. So this is, if you imagine what we've done with the training room, most people will have one within their business environments. The auditorium, they will have been in an auditorium. Unless you're a really big business, you don't have one in your own business. This I modelled on telling the team I wanted to be like the inside of the Death Star when Skywalker was fighting Darth Vader. But when we talk about building a knowledge base, what Adam's showing you in front is this 3D repository. And the balls on top, I mentioned that semantic chunking, but when we deliver information into this knowledge base, that's what we end up with. Like the big red ball would be an actual PDF and a source URL. Yeah, an orange ball might be a paragraph or chapter, and then we get down to the actually tiny element of data in each paragraph as a blue ball. Yeah, and once we've delivered that information into that format, if Adam looks up, you can see the big brain in the sky that we hook it up to, which is the AI. But probably more importantly, and as Adam, if you wander around, we can go and have a quick look at Vicky, who's we modelled off the film I, Robot, if anyone's seen that. Yeah, Vicky was the baddie who controlled all the robots. But you can come and stand in front of Vicky and interact with the AI that we've programmed her with. Now, in this environment at the moment, you have to do that by text. It's a requirement of Microsoft to access the voice element in it. But the idea, again, one of these immersive environments, if you wanted to build one for your business, you could build it relative to products and information, and you could have your own version of Vicky as an AI avatar programmed with information. So you could imagine your staff could go in there if they were joining your business. They could speak with the AI internal and learn at their own pace. So bringing all these technologies together is really powerful. They would all still rely on the same knowledge base. And this is where, as a business, we're sort of showcasing that we can go from your phone line or your website or build you an immersive world, yeah, for your AI avatar. And we do that by hooking up all the different data sources. And Adam's going to take us down into what I call the engine room. So this is like being on the bottom layer of the Death Star. We've got all these ports on the wall, which represent a different data source. That data source could be internal to the business or it could be external. Yeah, so when we started ingesting UK regulatory information, of course, that was on governmental websites or information. Yeah, or it could be 365 or it could be Biosite, which is a particular software data set in the construction industry. And what we're visually showcasing here is that these links are the information that's flowing from that database into our knowledge base that's then hooked up to the AI. And you might be able to make out the little white dots, and that's a showcase of information passing backwards and forward in a real-time basis. And if Adam, you give us one more look up, so we see the brain and the infrastructure, then we can go actually into the brain and see the AI and the agents that we've built at work. So, of course, in the immersive environment, you can see by hitting a button, we can channel very quickly from one different area to another. Just spin around, Adam, so we can see the 4 agents at the side. So as we've got there, 5 agents, Maxim, who was just about to go off to the whiteboard, controls these 4 agents. And the 4 agents we have here do slightly different things. Pythia, Aura, May, and Keto. Keto is a retriever, May is a research agent, Aura does the conversational. If you've come into work in a good mood, yeah, how are you? Maxim, Monday morning, yeah, had a great weekend. And Pythia is the researcher agent. So once we've ingested knowledge into that knowledge base, we have a range of agents, which is AI tooling that can facilitate commands that come in. And if we just play it out, Adam, we hit the play button. So if we were asking a question, that question would come on the board. Maxim, the boss, gets the question, gives it to Keto, the research agent, sorry, the retriever agent. He's going to go off and get the particular piece of knowledge relative to the question. That's that blue ball that obviously was showcased lower down. Brings that piece of information back, gives it to boss person, and then boss person delivers that to any respective endpoint. In this case, it was an API rather than Microsoft Teams or a pair of smart glasses. But this. When people hear about AI and they hear about agentic AI, this is exactly what's happening. And we built this visual aid, like I say, that we can take people on the tour or we can showcase like we are doing now. But this is the real key point. Your AI is only going to be as good as the knowledge put in, but this is how we build a knowledge base and use the very latest techniques of agentic AI to make use of that information. So that Adam takes the bar very quickly because that's where all good tours and conferences generally end. Now we can play music in here. You can't yet have a virtual drink, but hopefully people get the idea. Thanks for that. You probably close it down and stop the feature. Oh, cheers.
Thank you, Adam. Brilliant, fabulous. It's just great. As I say, thank you for that because it really does. I think the visual aid of helping to understand what it is that you can do and what AI can do for us, and it's just really valuable. And I think the thing that I picked up from our demonstration was the repository is potentially all the information in or around the organization, but there's different levels of access to it depending on whether it's external for potential prospects or clients or internal. I think the one we used, the example we used was medical information about patients that was only accessible to the doctors in this organization rather than anybody else. And it was that ability for it to intelligently pick the right data for the right situations. That's what I picked up, if that's correct. And please correct me if I'm wrong.
Look, I mean, your tutor was obviously very good that day, Chris. Yeah, and that was myself and Adam. So yeah, we'll tick that box.
Good job. Yeah, did a great job, guys. It really did.
Yeah, if people are watching this and they've stayed with us this long, I guess, look, we're based in Leeds. If people want to come down, put a headset on, yeah, have the tour in full, understand a bit more about it. What we've done, like I say, we've used all our experience from when I bought the video business in 2019. We've gone through COVID. We've gone through these idea of XR devices, virtual reality, and smart glasses. We've incorporated AI into our product set. We built a platform, but then we're making what we have been building accessible to all businesses. Yeah, and I say that incremental gain, starting from phone lines and websites, doing a better job, yeah, than your voicemail box. But we've got all the tools and the presentations and using the technology ourselves where it really helps showcase and help people learn. Yeah, and that's one thing I've really taken away from the immersive environments, the visual learning aids that they give. Seeing is believing, right? I could, go through the back of slides, yeah. But if I take people on that tour, 45 minutes, they understand it and get it, yeah. So, yeah, anyone who would like to avail themselves of that, just however they get in contact, simply.io, simply-ai.io is the website. Get in touch with Lisa, book yourself an appointment.
Brilliant. Absolutely super. And without going into detail, unless you choose to, my interpretation of the discussion we had was um, what you're doing is very affordable, even for businesses that might think that AI is only for large corporates. What you described to me would suggest anyone with even a relatively small business that would benefit, that wants an outward facing communication tool 24/7. It's pretty affordable.
Yeah. Look, we've got packages starting from 1,500 quid upwards. Yeah, so people can get engaged. We are aiming at the UK SMB market space that's below enterprise, that needs help with their AI, and hopefully we can communicate that easily to them, and not scare them with the jump, but give them a logical roadmap that they can start here, and if they stop there, great. If they want to continue the journey, yeah, when we've delivered some results and confidence in it all, then fantastic.
Brilliant. Well, Alex, Adam, thank you so much for today. It's been really fascinating. As I say, I really enjoyed and was fascinated by my visit to you. And I'd urge anybody watching that has even has an interest in what you could do for them to get in touch and visit. Get in touch first, obviously, potentially visit and understand a little bit more about what you do and how you can help them.
Brilliant. Well, look, thanks for having us on, Chris. Yeah,
You're
and
very welcome.
we'll speak soon.
Any last thoughts? I mean, anything we haven't covered, but you've been very comprehensive in everything. So if there's nothing else, we'll thank you and we'll move on.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.